Hey, everybody back eating donuts. Come on up front. We got plenty of chairs up here. Have a seat. Okay, look, I want to wish everybody a happy new year and welcome everyone to the January meeting of the Cowcatcher Division. Our clinic today is being presented via Zoom by Don Winn, and I know you all know Don Winn. He's an LSR director at large. He's a member of he heads up the youth award program for the LSR, and he's a member. He used to be a member of Division One, and he moved to San Antonio back in 2018. And he's very interested in layout planning, the OPSIG, LD SIG interest group. So it should be a great presentation. Um, So this is the first time we've gotten together at Texas Western since November. Um, and I want to, first of all, thank Eric for his Gizmos, Gadgets and Gizmos clinic that he did in November. And of course, we all spent our money, our Christmas money on all the gadgets and gizmos he presented. Speaking of the Christmas party, I want to make sure everybody realizes, I want to recognize the people who won the awards from this year. So Deb Gifford won the Jim Norwood Award. Deb, you want to? Jim Davis is not here today, but he won the John Garfield Volunteer Award. And due to other commitments, Daryl Cowles did not get his Craftsman of the Year award. So I want to present that to him right now. Daryl, would you come up, please, and be. Thank you. Photo op. You're very welcome. And then the last award, there was a conflict with Harold. Where are you at? Harold Baronswick. He had a conflict with the Christmas party and couldn't make it, but he has gotten the Director's Award for the year for outstanding contributions to the division by a leadership team member. So, Harold, thank you for all your help. Okay. Okay, as always, I want to thank Texas Western for letting us meet here. And David, do you have any announcements?
Thank you all for coming. Who is here for the first time at Texas Western? Everybody's been here before. Okay, great. Make sure you take a little tour before you get out of here today, specifically to point out along the west wall, which is the wall that faces the restroom and the kitchen on the back side, you'll see some new work being done for what's going to be a sawmill. And that's a project that Daryl Cowles is working on. So that's probably one of the latest things that's going on. So make sure you take a peek at what he's got started. How many of you noticed the wonderful, not full size, but pretty big caboose out front? You notice that?
Very nice.
Now, that was really an inspiration that the city wanted to have a caboose, but they didn't realize how much it would cost to put a big caboose out there. They would love to have that, but they don't have the money for that. So Daryl came up with the idea of, well, let's build a flat and scale it down. So it's about 16 foot long, and came up with the idea to build it. So in the month of November, the club was building that and had it ready to go right before Thanksgiving and right before the big Christmas tree lighting that the city did out here. But we had a big Christmas tree, and it was a real big wingding. There's probably 1,200 people that came to it, so it was a real big deal. They're going to start doing it annually. So I wanted to make sure you saw the caboose. please don't anybody suggest to Daryl to build a locomotive to go with it. We don't want to go there. We don't want to go there. Okay, but really seriously, the thing I wanted to remind you of next weekend is the Plano Train Show. When you go to the show, make sure you look up Texas Western in our room that'll be assigned to us. We don't know exactly where. It's probably down the eastern hallway, down from where the snack area is. But find us because we're going to have tons and tons of inventory. Got box cars, scenic materials, locomotives, you name it. We're always getting new stuff in every week, it seems. So please drop by our room, buy some stuff. The prices are always really, really good. So see you there. And thanks for coming.
Thank you, David. Do we have any new members or guests here today for Division One? Anybody new? All familiar faces? Okay. Do we have any, who's joining us via Zoom, David? I know David Grine is. We got Don Winn. We got Mike Mackey. Hello, gentlemen. Oh, we got a big crew. Okay. Betty, hello. David Grine, Don Hummel, Bob Mangrum, our MMR, or our whistle editor, and the Trainmeister is here. Welcome to the meeting. Glad you're here. Glad for joining. Okay, David Grine, do you want to do a treasurer's report via Zoom?
Is my mic on? No, I guess it is. I can hear me.
It is now.
Yeah. Okay. So in the whistle, I don't know how that happened, but it says the first entry there is says 31 December balance. That's actually the balance at the beginning of December. It was $33,677.41. We had no receipts. Expenditures was $1,297.22. Most of that was for the Christmas party. And we have an ending balance of $2,380.19. And our certificate of deposit currently is at $23,479.69. That's it.
Any questions for David? David, thank you very much. David did mention the Christmas party. I want to take an opportunity to thank Trapper for all his hard work in setting up the Christmas party. It came off, it was very, very successful. We had about 50 people there, and it was a good time was had by all. So Trapper, thank you very much. Beginning this month, we're kicking off something new that we had done a few years ago. We're going to restart the open house of members layouts. So today we have a layout that we're going to go see. We could go see. There'll be an open house of a layout after the meeting of a member who lives nearby, and we will hand out the address and we will name the layout at the end of the meeting. I have layouts lined up for January and February's meetings. I need members to come forward and volunteer an open house for their layout for future meetings. That's the reason why we ended the program a couple years ago, is we had about 6 layouts that we could see, but we had no other members step forward to offer their layout for viewing. So please see me or drop me an email if you're interested in presenting or having your layout viewed by members of the club or members of the division on a Saturday after one of our meetings. And we're pretty flexible as far as dates go and things like that. We can work around any schedule. So please keep that in mind. Mike Ross, you're here. Do you have anything to say on the membership topic? Yeah, we got a good crowd here today. And don't forget, we're going to be going to Train-a-Palooza, which is in Grapevine in early, I think it's the second weekend in March. We were very successful. We had picked up a couple of new members from that um, show last year. So we'll be presenting or having a membership drive at that Train-a-Palooza. And we will be looking for volunteers to help sell the division and sell the NMRA. Division 3 is kind of coordinating the Plano Train Show this year. We are going to be, they've asked us to conduct or present the Junior Engineer Academy feature again. So Deb, do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Microphone.
All right, well, remember, you have to sleep next to me till hush.
Live mic.
Whoops. Okay. All right, so we're going to be doing the Junior Academy train where we're letting the kids actually get their hands on it and run the train. It was a big success at the last train show. We had close to 500 kids come through. It was insane. We were busy the entire time. It brings a lot of people that might just walk by the NMRA booth and not even notice it to the booth. Going to make sure we have more of the QR codes for people to scan the information and get information about the NMRA as they're doing that, as their kids are running the train. So consequently, we need more volunteers. Everybody gets quiet. So we need people that will run the train, but I'd also like to have a person that is right there that doesn't have to run the train, doesn't really have to deal with the kids, maybe give out stickers here and there, but can make sure that the parents are getting some information about the NMRA. Okay. So while we need people to run the train, we also need somebody there doing that, giving them information, making sure that they get information. And I'm hoping that as this grows a little bit, we'll actually have maybe some online resources for parents, because I got asked about that a lot. So I'm going to be hitting up Speed and a few others to see if we can't nudge that along too. Anyway, so I have some volunteers for Saturday that have already said they'd help for a few hours. Still need people for Sunday because it is Sunday. All right, awesome. Sunday. All right. Well, I need to get a paper together and not write y'all's names down so I can harass you if somebody doesn't show. Anyway, that's all I have to say about it. It was a really big success. It brought a lot of attention to the booth. Like I said, these parents probably would have just walked by us.
Deb, thank you very much. Just a comment, it's great to see people volunteer for things because this organization cannot run with only one or two people doing all work. It takes a whole village, so to speak, to make this division successful. And we are a very successful division. We have great turnouts for the meetings, and we've got a lot of activities. But to manage those activities and to get them complete, it doesn't happen automatically. It takes people and horsepower to run it. So thank you for volunteering. Chris. You got it. I sent it to you a month and a half ago. It's there. I'll send it to you again if you don't have it. Okay, so upcoming events. Chris mentioned the train show. We got the Plano train show coming up the 17th and 18th. Amherst is coming up on the 24th and 26th of January. Obviously, that's in Springfield, Mass. And then in February 21st is the Pasadena, Texas, or the Greater Houston train show coming up in Pasadena at the, and that's sponsored by San Jacinto Model Railroad Club. And then on the February 21st and 22nd in Garden Ridge, which is just outside of San Antonio, is the 50th annual Model Railroad Jamboree going on. So keep that in mind. Most of those details, further details, are on the website for you, the Cowcatcher Division website. So please check them out if you're interested in going. Now let's go into Mike. Do you have any division AP announcements or comments? Mike Mackey? He's on. Mike Mackey?
I'm driving, so I was having a hard time unmuting, but no, I do not. I'm going to turn it over to Dwayne.
Okay. Dwayne, how about regional or regional AP announcements?
We've got one to give out this month. This one's been one we've been going back and forth on. Either I have it and he's not here, or he's here and I don't know he's going to be here, or whatever. But Eric earned his golden spike a few months ago now. Hasn't been that long. It seems like it, but it hasn't been that long. But we've got his golden spike. They do not give us the forms for these anymore. They just give us the artwork and we get to go print it. So yeah, congrats.
Thank you.
Want to echo on something that that Dick just mentioned. This place does not run on just one or two people. It takes, it takes the village kind of thing. But to that end, if you go through the achievement program and you look at the number of certificates given out, volunteer is given out more than any other certificate by almost 2.5-fold last I looked at the overall numbers. It is amazing how much y'all give back to the hobby, and that's a great, great thing. And is deeply appreciated by the rest of us who are also helping put these things on, because otherwise we'd have to be doing it ourselves. I have also begun to put some numbers together. I had hoped to have something ready for today, and unfortunately I did not, but I'll bring it next month. But I've been doing some analysis through our region's certificates and who's got what. At national, Ray is talking about pumping out data to the division AP people so they can get an idea of who's got what. And Mike brought that up to me, and I told Mike, I said, I've already got that data. I can give it to you if you want it. So I'd ran a quick query in my database, because I put everything into a little database here a few years ago, get it off of paper and give us something where you have a backup to boot. And I got to looking at the numbers, and I'll bring some hard numbers and graphs, but just in this decade alone, you guys have earned more certificates over here than Division 3 or Division 8 put together. And those are the two big, those have always been the two big heavy hitters. So congratulations.
Give yourselves a hand.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think the exact number starting in 2010 through today, and most of that kicked off in about 2016, 2015 timeframe. But I want to say D1's earned 158 certificates in the last 15 years, 85 just in this decade alone, which means you guys are getting in here, you're learning, you're building, you're taking what we're teaching you home, you're doing the stuff, you're putting pen to paper, and you're following what I tell you every month. That this will make
kind of following.
Yeah, this will make you a better modeler, and it's showing. I mean, you look at what Daryl's doing around here. Look at what's going on in the Texas Western. Everything over here is going really, really well. Please take advantage of this and hold on to it as long as you can, because this has got some magic going on over here right now, and it's great to see. But I'll put some hard numbers together and have that available to present this next month. But it's really encouraging what you guys are doing over here. So congratulations.
Okay. Thank you, Dwayne. Hey, as part of this volunteer work and stuff, I forgot to bring something up. We've got our pop-up tent canopy that we've ordered, and we were going to set it up outside, but it's way too windy to set it up. So there's a couple of panels back on the back table that Daryl and a few other volunteers are going to hold up, so you can see the artwork and the photographs and that are on there. And they're great photographs And I think we can thank Steve Christ for most of that photography. And but that we'll be putting that up on the canopy or on the pop-up canopy and trying to show it or be at various festivals in the area to do additional recruiting for the division.
Members' website pictures. A lot of these are from this club and from our previous location. Steve helped me a bunch with some layout. He did a couple of pictures as well. Some from Mr. Ross's layout and a couple others that he had a little higher resolution. It required at least to be a 4 gigabyte picture for it to print this big, and come out fairly clear. So it was an interesting process dealing with them, but we finally got it. Like the first proof they sent me, they'd taken all of the pictures and just pushed them all together. So how's this? And I'm like, no, that's not what I sent you. So
Yeah, great looking photography on that.
so but this is one of the side panels, two high side panels. The full back panel is too big for us to hold up this tall. So, but it's when you come take a look at it, it turned out really well.
Is training Palooza the first time you're gonna put that up?
We don't have room at Train Palooza to do it, but we'll start finding places to put it up. Yeah, somebody's backyard. Okay, so how about now we're going to go into question and answer period, and let's talk about does anybody have any issues with their railroad they need help with? You got a room full of 50 people here that can give you some advice. Everybody's got their layouts running perfectly. They got no problems on it. There's one. Go ahead, Jeff. Microphone.
All right. Can you hear me now? All right. When you're the first one here and you wake up the layout, the challenge that lots of us have is turning on the power. I had this very same challenge at home for the very same reason. You have to have a certain kind of throttle plugged into LocoNut to wake it up entirely. And I left mine here a couple of weeks ago and I couldn't find it. Anybody find a 602 throttle floating around here? Oh, okay. Somewhere, sometime. So that was my home issue. I guess the next thing up is Q&A, and I've got a question. Who is the resident expert of all of these experts who knows about the CB&Q Texas Zephyr passenger train that ran until 1967? Who's an expert who's built one?
Kevin Levy, but he's not here.
Okay, I'll try and track down Kevin Leddy. I've gotten interested in this train and I'm going to try and build one. I got both ends of it, need to fill in the middle. Part of filling in the middle on this train is instead of buying streamlined sleeper cars for it, they got some heavyweights and painted them silver. That's something I can handle. Now, I'm going to hand this off to the next one.
Anybody else got any questions or Gary Ray?
I've got a 10-track staging yard that's Speedmiller wrote the script to control in Arduino, and it wasn't working the way he thought it would work. And back in November, tried to get him to come over, and he was busy, and then I've been gone. And it's my understanding he's in Africa currently. Are there any experts here on Arduino script writing? Could help me getting the turnouts to go the way that they need to go? Yes,
I can take a look.
I would greatly appreciate that. I'll talk to you in a minute. Yeah. Thank you.
How about any other questions, answer questions people have? Okay, so let's talk about tips and tricks. Dwayne, do you have a tip or trick for us? David Steckler's got a tip or trick.
Morning, everybody. Ran across something to make a stone wall or a stucco wall that is extremely inexpensive and takes almost no time to do. You start with a piece of 3/16 inch foam board, Hobby Lobby, Michaels, get it black, get it black. It's very cheap. An 11 by 14 inch piece costs $2.99. And I've got a lot of it at home still. First thing you want to do, this is what it looks like. Peel off this top paper. And you get what looks like this. It's kind of a shiny rough. Take some cheap black acrylic paint, paint it. Let it dry. Next. Oh, here we go. There you go. Depending on what scale you're modeling in, either use a mechanical pencil, a regular pencil, or something thicker like artists use. And don't use a ruler. Just score horizontal and then vertical lines like you're making stone. Vertical and horizontal. Next. Mike, do you see a piece of paper on that seat? A little piece of scrap paper, white paper? Yes. Thank you. Rip a sponge. Don't use a paintbrush. Learn this from Jason Jensen on YouTube. And start dabbing it with, use cheap acrylic paints, the stuff you buy for a couple of bucks at Walmart or the Hobby or Michael's. Some gray, let it dry for a few minutes, then off-white, let it dry a few minutes, light brown, let it dry a few minutes, and then white again. Don't fill in the lines. I mean, you can get a little of it, but don't fill them in completely. When it's all dry, it's acrylics. It takes 20 minutes. Just use some weathering powders. I used a little bit of black, put some on a brush, kind of like dry, you do for dry brushing. Got most of it off. Start blending it. I also used from Pan Pastel, I forget the color. It's kind of like an off-white, a light gray. This took, except for the drying time, 20 minutes to do, 25 minutes to do. And as you can see, it makes very nice looking stone. If you want it to be stucco, don't draw lines. Just do the paint. And you get the stucco color that you want. Like I said, this costs next to nothing. We've all got the paints. We've got weathering powders. And as I say, 11 by 14 piece for $12.99. And I've got a couple of extra pieces if anybody would like to take one to try. And at home, I've got about a 10 by 10 piece left over. Not that's inches, that's 10, big. Anybody. So I've got it. That's it. Very easy to make, inexpensive stucco or stone walls.
Thank you, David.
I got a quick one for you. A lot of times you see me using super glue, the Loctite version where it's got the two little handles on either side and you squeeze it. Gorilla makes one similar to that. About the time you think you're out of glue, break that plastic container out because the tube that's inside it looks like the same old tube we've bought for years and there's still quite a bit of glue in there. Coal rash clued me into that one. And a friend of mine figured it out this week with the Gorilla brand, works the same way. So you may not be as out of glue as you think you are.
Thank you, Dwayne. Eric, yes.
This is a continuation of last month's clinic, or November's clinic. I don't know if y'all remember that I showed you at that time the little mini drill that I'm just fascinated by this. This past week installed in-scale track drilling nail holes with this. Man, it was just great because you didn't have to have the great big giant Dremel to use it. And it was really just a pleasure to use it that way. So over the Christmas break, my youngest daughter gave me a Christmas present. And what it is, it's kind of the same philosophy, but it is a little mini Dremel, if you will, and it's got this little thing that holds the Dremel pieces in it, which is really a pretty cool little thing. And so you don't have to carry your big Dremel around with all of the different things, that you have to have. Of course, I think she got it off of Amazon.
And who makes it, Eric? What's
This
the name?
is a Fantic, and it's just kind of the same thing. It's just a little battery-powered handheld pencil. Well, because I couldn't be outdone, let me see if I can get this one out. I found this is the same manufacturer that did the little drill, and this is about the same size as the drill, but it's just a little mini screwdriver that has tons of little drill screw bits on it. And so these things, the little drill, I'm just blown away by it. It's so nice to use it. And they actually sell the little mini drill on Amazon. It's a lot more expensive, but with a little drill press where you mount the little drill in it, and it's a little drill press that goes down. So pretty neat little thing to continue on. I'm just fascinated by gadgets. So you guys, anyway, ask me if you got any more questions.
Okay, any more?
Please keep my anonymity. Yeah, and don't point her to the website because I think it was listed in the whistle.
Okay, any more tip or tricks? Terry, you got one or?
Countertop samples and stuff, discontinued, they give them away. They trash them really. So I got the box of them. It's good. It's a weight. Put stuff in a different size. It's different. Yeah, that's it. This yellow box is what you want out of it.
Okay, so they're free for the taking, right? Okay, so we've got a couple of show and tell items that are somewhat lengthy. So let's move into show and tell. Mike, you want to?
I went to New Orleans in November to visit my daughter. And while I was there, I made a side trip pilgrimage. And while I went to New Orleans this November to visit my daughter. And while I was there, I made a side trip pilgrimage. Oh, you can't show that. Yeah, we're committing a crime right now. Because that's from a YouTube video and we're going to be on YouTube, so there's a conflict. But remember that, because you can look that YouTube up. Okay. In any event, the pilgrimage was to the home of the Delta Lines. The Delta Lines was built by Frank Ellison back from 1938 to 1954. It's one of the ultimate famous layouts, along with the Gory and Defeated and some other ones. But this was kind of the first famous individual layout. But the Delta Lines was famous because he wrote so many articles about it. I think he wrote about 300 articles about the layout. This,
Can you hang on a second?
yeah, well, I can talk on that first slide anyway. Just don't.
Not everybody's seeing it.
Okay.
Computer is being cranky on what it's
Oh,
showing.
no telling what my stick has on it.
People can see it, but
Yeah.
people can see my computer screen downstream, but they can't see the presentation. So let me get this restarted. All right, and then. Sorry, bear with me as we have technical difficulties.
In any event, online I found his address. So that's where we got some pictures of it, but
Isn't technology wonderful?
it warms my heart to see somebody else have trouble with it. It's more knowledgeable than I am.
He's certainly more knowledgeable.
Okay. Is that being broadcast now? Anyway, the name of his layout was the Delta Lines.
Okay, we're up.
The name of the layout was the Delta Lines because he lived in New Orleans on the Mississippi Delta. It all made sense. But this is Frank Ellison. He was born in 1887, passed away in 1964. Next slide. This is the neighborhood in Lakeview where he lives. He's about a mile south of Lake Pontchartrain and a little bit northwest of downtown New Orleans. Next. He lived in two different places in this neighborhood. This is the spot where the first house was. That's not the original house, but it was on this corner that he lived from until about 1938. Then he moved a block and a half toward the lake next to the next slide. It's interesting. To 6845 Colbert. It's interesting that in the early model railroaders in the 40s and 50s, if you did an article or sent in something to Trackside Photos, you got your name and address and the SIG.
Whoa.
It's just amazing. And so his address was out there, but there was no internet for people to chase you down. It was a much kinder, gentler time. So he built the first iteration of the Delta Lines up until 1938. Then he cut it up and moved it down a block and a half to 6845 Colbert. Next slide. And this is the house that he lived in. This is just after Halloween. In New Orleans, Halloween goes on forever. But the thing about New Orleans houses is that the first floor is up and the basement is never underground. It's just the space under the house. So the layout was actually in that space under the house. Next, he was born in 1887. His life story is he worked as a telegrapher on the Louisville and Nashville for a couple of years. He was also a musician. He, his brother, and his wife had an act called the Three Ellisons. They traveled with vaudeville for 15 years doing a classical music act, and which is where that's important later in his understanding and approach to model railroading. He began to build model trains about right after World War I. O scale, the only scale back then. And then he went to work for the New Orleans Item, a newspaper in New Orleans. And so his writing skills and his interest in theater kind of formed his approach to the layout, to the model railroading. Next slide. He wrote about 300 articles from 1934 to 1956, and they appeared in all the magazines that were available at that time. Next. He's most well known for his series of 6 articles called The Art of Model Railroading. He is the one who promoted and developed the idea of operating a layout and operations. And he likened it unto the theater, where the tracks were the stage, the buildings and scenery were the set, the trains were the actors, and the operating schedule was the plot. And he promoted operating model railroad back then. At that time, people were just happy to get a train going around in a circle. And the idea of operations was something new at that time. This, again, this series came out in 1944. It was reproduced in 1964 in Model Railroader. Next. And this is how it appeared. This is the first page of the first article in the 1964 reprint. And you can see a little shot of his layout there. And next. This is his layout. You can't see it too much, but it's a 40 by 45 foot layout that filled that basement that you saw in the house. It's a point-to-point layout. The end stations are New Fillmore and Chappelle. And those happen to be the two streets on either side of the cross streets on either side of his street. And the station in the middle is Colbert, which is the street he ran on. He had a neat sense of humor. Some of his industries, he had Carter's Little River Mills, which was cute. And then the Dodd Dam power plant were the two, and as you can see, it's a point-to-point layout, and that facilitated the operating that he did. And the next slide. The layout, as a number of well-known layouts, had a bad ending. He went to Boston and became friends with Sam Sachs, who was an ophthalmologist at the Mass Eye and Ear. And Sam purchased the layout. It was loaded onto a van and transported toward Boston. In Maryland, the van hit a low bridge and peeled the top off the van in the rain. They moved it to a nearby facility and transloaded the layout from one trailer to another. The problem was in New Orleans, they put the heavy stuff on the bottom and the lighter stuff on top as they went up. But when they transloaded, they just took the top piece off and put it on the bottom and the next piece and so forth. So when it got to Boston, it was all crushed beyond repair, and it was never reassembled. Parts of it survive today. Fred Dole, who was the editor of O-Gauge Railroading for a number of years, got a lot of the parts to it. The buildings were crude. They were cardboard with painted surfaces, nothing like the high quality stuff we do today, but it certainly sufficed for the time, and it looked good on his layout. The next slide. Now, this is a video that you can pull up on YouTube simply by looking for Frank Ellison. I can't show it because there's a conflict here. I just found out about that this is a YouTube video, and we're going to be on YouTube with this presentation, so we can't rerun it without appropriate permission. But you can look it up, Frank Ellison. In any event, that was the result of my pilgrimage.
Mike, thank you very much.
Do you even realize it's Frank Ellison?
Not that he knew it.
No.
Okay. Ken, you want to do your show and tell?
I'm one of the few O-scalers here, but anyway, Lionel has started with a new line of cars. If you put it on the screen there. The cars are a true O-scale, not semi-scale. They fully detail, even inside the caboose, it happens to be a caboose, the tail lights work, and it has sound. So you have choices. You can have it hit the clickety clack as it's running along the tracks. You can have it talk to the engineer, or you can have it call to the tower. And it'll
Can
be
you
up
get it
on the
on the
table
camera?
there, so they
Can you
can't
get it
get
on
a
the
picture of
camera?
it. You can go up afterwards and look at it. And it only cost a mere $258. What? For a caboose.
Everybody.
Yeah, that's it. So anyway, you can go up here and take a look at it. I'll leave it there.
Well, David's going to get it on the screen in a second. Just,
And it's-
I'll hold it up.
And the taillights actually work.
Yep. There we go.
But it's true scale. It's not semi-scale.
Man, it's heavy too.
It's heavy too, yes. And it's super detailed. And you only have to order it like 2 years in advance. Yeah.
Thank you, Ken. Russell, you got something on show and tell? I would agree. So let's have a round of applause for our AV guy. Dave's one of these people that are always in the background, making sure we have a very productive meeting. And he's one of those volunteers that does his work and does a fantastic job of it. And we need to really appreciate guys like that. So once again, David, thank you very much.
Working on my AP stuff and contest models. I bought this kit. Now, when I buy a kit, I just use the prints and stuff out of it and templates and whatnot. But this little plow on the kit's made out of paper. I go, well, that doesn't look very good. I don't want the paper. So I've been experimenting with copper, using copper to make different things. So I have a couple of different versions that I was working on. I don't know how well these are going to show up. Do what? What? Anyway, these are all made out of sheet copper. And I just use a standard soldering iron to put them together. This is one version of the weathering I'm looking at, which is fairly similar to what was in the picture. Here's one a little bit more my style, more beat up and what have you. But this is what it looks like before it's painted and put together in copper. And a flux on the inside, so when I solder along the point of the plow, it pulls the solder up inside there. So it makes a lot nice, cleaner joint, but you could see right there, it matches the profile pretty good. What was going to be on the number 2 plow and flanger. But if you're trying to make detail parts, copper is easier to work with than brass. But this took me about, I don't know, about an hour to cut it out and solder it all together. So if you need to make some small detail parts, this works pretty good. So anyway, this is going to be a contest model that I hopefully have ready for Austin and then for the Nationals. What now?
The rivets.
I'd use a Ponce wheel. If you go around the backside, take a Ponce wheel and go around it. You gotta be careful. A little bit of measurement because it's got to line up in a certain way. But I tried it on brass, and it's just brass is a little bit more harder. And the first one I did, I annealed the copper, which made it too soft. So I bought the sheet copper at Hobby Lobby. Comes in a roll, and I've done several different things with the copper. But this was something I would thought about it, dreaded it, and it was a lot easier than what I thought it was going to be. So it looks pretty good. Just regular solder I use for everything. Just no. Just when you get to clean it, the copper has a kind of a film on it. I just sand it and clean it. Use alcohol, and then, like I said, when anything I want to solder in the front, I floss from the backside, and it'll actually pull the solder in. It won't be on that. You know, I'm a plumber by trade, kind of, sort of. So this is one of those trinkets when you put solder together. Pardon? So anyway,
Different kind of pipes though.
it's thick.
Online question. Don Hummel's asking how thick it is.
You know, I wish I could remember. I bought a roll, threw the package away. When you go to Michael's or excuse me, a Hobby Lobby, they have two thicknesses. I get the thicker one. It's the best.
Get the thicker one.
Get the thicker one. If you're making something that's got a lot of turns and cuts in it, you can anneal it with I use the gas stove at the house, and it makes it very, very, very soft. So you can make some compound curves. With this, even though it's got a lot of compound curves and stuff in it, you really don't need to anneal it because it gets too soft. I cut the very first one. I kind of lost the point at the top of it because when I was soldering, it got too hot and kind of flattened out on me. So I think the third one, the one that's bar copper, probably the one I'm going to use. But the process isn't hard. It's one of those things you think about. Oh, it's going to be hard to do. You know, give it a shot. Like they said, Columbus gave it hell and he died in prison. So try it. You know, you never know.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Russell.
no.
Is this a show and tell item right here? That's a regift. Oh, okay. Okay, well, here you go. Here's a regift to the club.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, we have dealer done to any other show and tell. Okay, so yes.
I'm going to tweet because I put it there. Going to stick this under the camera with zoomies and then pass it around. I like using.
Put it 180 degrees.
Yeah, let me get it right side up here. The last locomotive that Alco made was the Century Series 415 Switcher. This little guy doesn't come cheap, obviously. Last locomotive I'm gonna buy for a long time. But it makes so much noise, I'm gonna have to turn the volume down. I think it'll pull the paint off the wall. I like using demonstrators because they can show up anywhere. I'm gonna pass this thing around.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, so let's move into dealer dud. Trapper, do you want to bring the okay, the winner is 551. Mike,
What right off the bat?
what number? No, what number box? Number 2. You think I would know how to open these by now? Hermetically sealed. Okay, gifts card, $15 at Model Train Crossing.
Young man, come back here.
Michael, come back, pick a number. Or pick a ticket.
All right, 558. No, 558. Last 3 numbers. Oh, wait a minute.
558. Come on, somebody's got to have it.
Okay, somebody's got it.
558 going once.
Yes. Last 538.
We got a winner, 558.
Figures. Two steps away from changing. Which one you want?
What box? Well, there's 3 gift certificates in the 4 boxes, and in the 4th box, there's a package of Milk Duds. Number 1. Well, I don't hear it rattling around, so it's probably not. We have a gift certificate, $25 gift certificate to Model Train Crossing.
All right, now draw one for me.
Five, 3, 8. Daryl, is that you again?
No, mine's 5, 3, 4. That's yours? Very
All
good.
right. Number 3.
Give it a dud.
No, no dud.
Oh, man.
And this is a $10 gift certificate. You're very welcome. And the winner of the gift of the
Give me that ticket back.
the winner of the Milk Duds is 561.
Here it is.
Mr. Packer.
Yep, get my last of my milk.
3 sets of Milk Duds. 3 boxes of milk. There you go.
Okay, y'all, as y'all know, he moved from Hurst to North Richland Hills. The address is 7801 Randy Lane, Suite D. Been there, done that. It's that's his new place. So
It's right by the Tex Rail station in North Richland Hills. And please, when you go in, if you're cashing in your gift certificate, or even if you're buying stuff without the gift certificate, please thank him for his contributions to the division. He's a big supporter.
yeah.
Yep. Okay. Very good. So I've got about 5 minutes to 10 or 5 minutes to 11. So we'll take, let's take a 10-minute break, and we'll get back started with Don Winn's clinic. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to start. For those of you who don't know Don Winn, he used to be a member of Division 1. He moved to San Antonio in 2018. He is a member of the Layout Design Special Interest Group. He is also very active in the Boy Scouts and is the youth chairman for the LSR, as well as a director at large. So let's welcome Don Winn, please. Don, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Dick. Can you hear me?
Hear you just fine. We can hear you
All
just
right.
fine.
Very good. Well, thanks for inviting me today. This is a clinic that I've been thinking about doing for a couple of years, and Harold invited me to come today, and I decided I better get the clinic finished. And so it's always good to have a deadline. So with that, we'll let me see. I'll share my. Let's see. Hold on here. We need to. Sure, AV guy there. How do I get this shared?
Should just be able to click on share your screen, and then it should open up computer. If you got your file already open, then you should be able to open the PowerPoint.
Where do you see share my screen? I'm not seeing that in the.
If you like wiggle your at the bottom, you should see
share.
bar.
Okay.
Yep, there you go.
All right. Looks like I cannot do sharing it. I've sent a request.
Nope, I
to
can't.
you.
Hang on, I have to allow it, and I had just did.
Okay.
You're good to
And
go.
now, all right. Very good.
All right, you have started your screen sharing.
All right. Do you see my my working
It's
screen, the presentation?
started. It hasn't opened yet. Give me saying it's started your screen sharing. see if you can click on your PowerPoint.
Let's see, I've got an egg timer here. Let's see here. How's that look?
Okay, well, we're back to you.
Wow.
If you want, I can pull up I've got the copy. And if you want
Nah, that's going to be a problem. So let's try and figure this out here.
okay.
I'm going to try again here.
All right. You're started in, there you go.
Okay.
All right.
That's
you're up.
presentation mode. Okay.
Yep.
Very good. All right. Thanks for that. Okay. Yeah, if you want to copy this, you can email me, but Harold's got a copy of it, so we can go with that. I'm sorry, my screen has locked up here. There we go. All right, so what we want to do today is we're going to try and learn best practices by the hobby pioneers. Really, the key is how to design what you really want. Don't design what somebody else has. Design what you want. I'm going to talk about the common pitfalls in layout design. You still have my screen there?
Nope.
Okay. I faded to white as well. Don't know.
Turn it back up.
Let's see. Okay. Okay, here we go. Can you see me now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so target audience for this is really if some of you are planning a new layout or remodeling an existing layout, that's great. But we're also going to talk about how to design your layout so you're running your trains realistically. And that doesn't necessarily mean doing ops, but how to make it look like a real railroad and look and feel like it. So with that, you've got all these wonderful books out there that show you different track plans, and that's great. And I do not recommend any of these to you for a number of reasons. One is they have a lot of layouts in there that are just ridiculously unworkable, but it's not talking about what you really want. These are just, lines thrown together. If you're going to go tomorrow and help your grandson set up his train set, yeah, maybe you could take a peek at those. But otherwise, you guys are all NMRA members, so you can do a lot better than what they have in these books. So with that, let's start drawing some track. Okay, this is a problem. Everybody, when they a lot of people, when they start thinking about their layout design, they start drawing lines and hooking them together and drawing things. This is not the way to go about it. Byron Henderson has defined layout design as 3 phases. And he talks about conceptual, structural, and detail. And you're going to spend a lot of time in detail, but that doesn't mean you should breeze right through the conceptual stage, because it turns out conceptual stage is the most important. And if you get that wrong, you're going to regret it for the rest of your layout's life. And jumping right into CAD and drawing lines is a sure way to fail on that. So let's dig further into conceptual phase here. Really, the key is, what is your vision? I mean, you individually, you have a vision for your layout that's different than everyone else. And that's what you need to seek out. So you might be interested in a historic place, horseshoe curve, Tehachapi Loop, somewhere like that. You want to represent. For a lot of us, there's some personal history that what are your memories growing up, or what have you seen that you really got interested in? You probably have a specific era that you're more interested in than others, and it's good to keep that in mind and try to narrow that down. Scenery. There are so many different types of scenery you can do. Think about, again, when you close your eyes and see your layout, your perfect layout, what does it look like? What's going to make you happy? Prototype. All of us are basing things on the prototype, whether we're doing a freelance layout or a true prototype layout. you're going to go back to the themes that you see in the real world. Tony Custer has done both a freelance and a prototype layout that have been well documented in books and in the magazines. But it's all up to you how you want to do it. Train size, I found this image. This is a guy that apparently likes 2-car trains. Me, I like big trains and I cannot lie. I think there's a song like that somewhere. But it's what you're interested in. The key is it's your railroad, and don't try to make it somebody else's railroad. So Alan McClellan was one of the great pioneers in our hobby, and he coined the term beyond the basement. Of course, now none of us have any basements here in Texas, but you get the idea that there is, you're designing a layout that is not to run your toy trains. He said, I'm modeling a transportation system, how a railroad would really work. Point-to-point operation, fast clock, following the prototypes of rule books, having waybills, walk-around throttles. You're really getting in touch with running your train the way the big boys do. So the key to establishing your concept and really narrowing it down what you want to do, you look at maps, Sanborn maps, look at which towns you're going to model, learn more about them, industries you want to model, schematics, timetables. Railroad timetables are a great source of information. And of course, historical society. If you're patterning your layout after historical, true railroad, you want to get in touch with our historical society, join them, and you learn a lot from that. We all have physical space considerations. No matter how big your layout room is, we all wish it would be about twice the size. But you got to be realistic on what you have, where are the doors and the windows and the pipes and the other things that you got to negotiate around. And then true negotiated space, assuming you're not living alone, you've got to think about what other things have to go on in this house. Is this going to be a TV room in addition to a train room? And you'll have to work with that. You want to look at your personal considerations. How much time do you really have to spend? Even those of us who are retired, you really don't have all day to spend on it, or you don't have the energy to work on it all day. Maybe you don't have the skills to do certain things. Maybe you don't have the skills to do electronics or woodworking, whatever it is. Think about your mobility. David Grind was saying he's got a new knee a couple days ago. So, it's you got to work at work. None of us are getting younger. So think about that when you're designing your railroad. Operations. Some people are interested in it. Some people are not. I'm sorry, it's flipping around on me. But even if you're designing for operations, how many operators do you expect to have? Are you going to do mainly switching or mainline running? What kind of control system, car forwarding? Think about all this before you start building your layout. Think about portability. You may realize that you're going to be moving soon or will in the next few years. Are you going to be able to want to take your layout down and move it somewhere? What scale appeals to you? We all have a different preference on that. Sorry, it's slow on flipping. John Allen was a great pioneer in our hobby. We don't talk so much about his layout design. He had kind of a spaghetti bowl design, but what John brought us was floor to ceiling scenery. Just fantastic stuff and realistic. And he really knew the art of forced perspective and how to make this particular scene look like it's not 15 feet deep, but it's miles deep, and how you do that. I decided to try that on one part of my railroad. And so I've got this farm scene right over my helix. And I put in an N-scale farm and an N-scale backdrop. And, I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. But here I've got HO scale cows, a few inches in front of an N scale barn, and they look fantastic. Your brain has a way of thinking, well, those aren't on a scale. That barn is just really far away, and it's amazing what you can do with that. So you want to think about, how you're going to do the scenery before you start building your layout. Lance Mendheim is another one who looks a lot at how does it appear, and he really preaches that less is more. Do not try to figure out how many towns you can cram onto your railroad. Do not figure out how many industries you can cram in every linear foot. Less is more. It makes it look more realistic, and model the ordinary. This haunted house kit that you can buy is pretty fun. But is that really, do you want that on your layout, and does that make your layout look realistic? And in most cases, the answer is no. So you want to document your plan. Pull together everything you're thinking about, all these different factors. You got your givens and druthers. Givens is what you must have. That's your room size and things like that. And druthers are the nice to have. What would you like to do? And I encourage you to write these down and keep this notepad near you while you're planning your layout, and keep reviewing it, keep updating it. As you learn more and think about it some more, you'll rule some things out and add some other things you want to do. All right. See, I'm locked up again. Great. So, concept phase is really, really important. I'll say that again. When you're building your railroad, you're going to spend at least hundreds of dollars, maybe thousands, maybe tens of thousands. You're going to put in hundreds of hours, maybe tens of thousands of hours building it. You really want to get this right, and not be, look at your layout 15 years from now and say, going like, man, I really don't like what I built. The concept phase costs you nothing. Okay. So it's a fantastic investment of your time. So work on that. We're gonna end our concept discussion there, but you really need to spend a good amount of time there. So let's take a sidetrack. Now that you have a clear, defined concept for your layout, let's talk about how to save money at the train show. So first of all, I want everybody to raise their right hand and repeat after me. Although I claim to be a serious model railroader, deep down I'm really just a train collector. All right, thank you for that admission. So how do we save money? Well, when you define your vision, you got a location, you got an area, you got a railroad. Once you have that nailed down, you go to the train show, the Plano train show here in a couple weeks. 98% of those locos and cabooses are not for you. Okay, 98% of those passenger cars are not for you. 80% of the freight cars are not for you. So as you're walking around, remember what Obi-Wan Moore Trains always told us. These are not the trains you are looking for. Okay? So let's take my example. So I'm modeling the Burlington route, the CB&Q. I'm modeling 1966 in Aurora, Illinois. I have some interchanges and some run-through power with 4 different railroads. So I can justify buying a few locos and cabooses for each one of those. But really, I'm focused on the Burlington. So I go to the train show. Oh, these new big boys they had coming out with sound and everything. Oh God, I have to have one of those. And everybody needs a half a dozen shays. And you walk down the aisles and you just want to just pick up at least one of each of these, but you don't need them. You gotta listen to Obi-Wan's voice and say, these are not what I'm looking for. So even within Burlington, I got those locomotives are too old. They would never be on my layout. And I have some that are too new. Okay, so the Burlington Northern BNSF, I don't need those. So it really limits what I should be buying. But yet every day, manufacturers and retailers send me emails saying, "Oh, Don, you got to buy this." And look at this one. This is almost $300 off. I should go and corner the market on Western Pacific sound locomotives. No, I shouldn't. Just delete that email. So yet, even with a narrow focus, I found plenty to collect. So fear not, if you've narrowed your focus, there are still some things to buy out there. Thank God we have those manufacturers pumping more stuff out every day. So let's talk about, that was locos. Let's talk about rolling stock. So brown or mineral red, whatever we're going to call it, it looks brown to me, to my eyes. These are so boring. So when I go to the train show, I look at, oh, look at that. Oh, I need some of these reefers. But if you know your history, you know that billboard reefers lasted for only a full few years, and they were outlawed in the 1930s, and so they wouldn't be on my layout. And ice reefers totally were gone by the 1970s. So that's out of the time period for a number of people. So keep that in mind. I've seen these beautiful premium freight cars, and yes, I've bought a number of each of these, and but then I find that these were captive service. New York Central did not interchange these beautiful cars outside the railroad. They kept it for their premium customers, and this is a marketing scheme. We've got beautiful new cars. We're going to serve you. We're going to have them there when you need them. This is part of their marketing scheme. And remember that cars can't be interchanged if they're more than 40 years old. So you look at the date on your car, and this one, if you do the math, you say this can be good till this expires in 1972. So it's okay for me, but some of you not so much. But it's your railroad. So you want to do that? Go ahead. Let's see. My slide has frozen again. I apologize for that. I have a black screen of death here. I don't know what you have. Okay. All right, here we go. So before you buy a car at the train show, I tell you, my screen's just flipping all over the place. It says the shared window was closed. I have the AV guy take a look at this.
Yeah, you're back online, your picture. So
okay,
you would just try to share your screen again.
Okay.
Okay, and then see if you can relaunch your PowerPoint. Okay, see PowerPoint recovered. See if you can jump back into that.
Let me see. Okay, maybe it's on my side. Maybe the PowerPoint just burped. I don't know. I've got a.
Let's see. There you go. See if you can relaunch that.
Okay, you see that there?
Yeah, you're back up.
All right, let's try and get back to where we were. That's frustrating.
Yeah, I've had the same problem. I ended up being, my computer only had 4 gigs of memory, and I didn't realize that until I was trying to run a PowerPoint during a Zoom meeting with everything else running.
I don't know if that's the problem or not. So, okay, I think we're back to where we were. All right, very good. So before you buy something at the Plano train show, these missile cars, everybody's got to pick them up and look at them. Oh, I need one of those. But ask yourself, where would this be used on my layout? And the answer in a box in the closet does not count as a correct answer. So think it over. Okay, so we're back to layout design. Let's talk about the structural phase. This is the intermediate phase. In the structural phase, we're going to rough out the key parts of the layout. Which towns are we going to model? And you probably want to model about 50 towns, but you really only have the space to model 3 or 4 realistically. So you gotta narrow that down. What industries are going to be in those towns? How is the main line gonna go around? So in this phase, just use paper and pencil sketches, lots of notes, a lot of scribbling. You know, just rip off a new sheet of paper every 5 minutes or every day. Just keep looking at it. Do not go to CAD. When you go to CAD, you get so tied up in trying to get the lines to match and get the lines parallel and all that. Your brain has lost its power to do any creative work. So keep it paper and pencil. Here's an example. In the Layout Design Journal, they typically have these layout design challenges. They specify a certain room size, where the doors and windows are. This was a theme for a mountain railroad in a certain size room, and I decided to participate in the challenge. It's so the best design gets published in the magazine, right? Turns out it's a scam by the editor. Everybody that sends something in gets published in the magazine. So anyway, I had a sketch pad, and every day at breakfast, I just sketch out a new plan and doodled around. And it's really rough. There's no straight lines. It's not on CAD. But you want to do this in the structural phase for your layout. Come up with as many different designs as you can, and look at them and say, is this one better than the other one? Just doodle it. One thing to watch out for as you're doodling is watch out for the blobs, the killer blobs. Okay, the blobs are these big round spaces in our layout. And they take up a lot of space, and the tracks around the edge of the blob are not usable. And it's really not prototypical. Our prototypes are 95% or more straight track. So you look at a layout like this. This doesn't look bad. This looks like a nice layout, Don. But if you add it up, only 51% of that track is straight. And you want straight track for your yards, for your industry spurs, things like that. So here's a layout. It's the same size. It only has 2 blobs, and you have a lot more straight track. So look at the layout here. Wait a minute, Don. This one has no blobs. That must be better, right? Well, maybe not. How do you turn your trains around? And I asked this. I was helping one of my friends design his layout. He says, what do you mean turn them around? They go round and round and round, Don. I said, no, how do you turn around? He says, I just want 2 loops of track, and I don't need any return loops. I'm fine without those. So I said, okay, John, let's do some railroad math. If your 20th Century Limited goes westbound every day, at the end of the year, there are 365 trains in Chicago. Now, how do they get back? So return loops, even though they're a space hog, they do serve a purpose. If you're designing a point-to-point layout, these will get your trains, back to where they came from. The other thing return loops do, of course, they allow you continuous running. And most people see that to be a big advantage. When you have visitors, maybe your grandkids or somebody comes over, you can just run trains and let them run. They like to see trains moving. They don't like to see, trains going and dropping off cars and all that. Open houses, of course, and then also as a test track. When you get a new locomotive or new train, throw it on there, run it around, make sure it's going to behave properly. So on my layout, I have a point-to-point layout, but I also have return loops at each of the 3 ends, and they do a great job of getting those trains back to where they're supposed to be. This is an example. This is one of my staging yards. and return loop is right at the end of it. So a train gets to this yard, it turns around and it parks in one of the tracks, and it's already turned around and all ready to go head back out whenever I need it. So you need to think about your layout when you're designing it. A lot of people are into virtual model railroading these days, and I credit Einstein as being the very first pioneer of virtual model railroading. He had a neat layout. All of his trains went the speed of light. So, that's pretty awesome. I don't know anybody that has that today. But the key is, even though we're not Einsteins, we can do thought experiments. How would this train work these industries? How would I turn this train? Do I need a run around here? Do virtual op sessions of switching cars in and out on your sketch. How would it work? And does that have everything I need? So thought experiments are really, really important. When you're designing, Byron Henderson says, see the space, not the rectangles. And I actually had a lot of trouble with this concept. Being a design engineer, you typically design with straight lines. When you're building a layout, lumber comes in straight lines. It just makes sense to do everything in straight lines. But it turns out being dull, okay? And so we're trying to build a diorama of sorts, and we want to make it interesting. So see the space, not the rectangles. Put in curves, to make things flow, and so that when you do that, your viewers are not looking at your bench work; they're looking at your layout, trying to understand it. So let's talk about fashion trends in model railroading. So spaghetti bowl was a very common design back in the day, and it made a lot of sense because back in the day, we didn't have walk-around throttles. We had a master control panel somewhere, and so you really couldn't move around. So this is a good way to do it. That is out of style these days. Although I must say that if I was designing a layout for something like a children's hospital display or something, I would certainly think about the spaghetti bowl. But most of our layouts these days are point to point. And the other thing they're passing through the scene only once. So your scenery is really only supporting what the train is doing when it passes through there. This happens to be Mike Armstrong's layout. You guys know Mike, Division I, and his a very, very nice layout. But it's your railroad, so do what you want. The other fashion trend that is out of style is paired industries. And paired industries are industries that are supposedly support each other. So in this layout, and this is a layout I found in the 101 layout book, and once you dig into it and analyze it, it's a really, really horrible layout. But it has only two industries on the small layout, a coal mine and a power plant. And the way this works, you put empty cars into the coal mine, and it magically, through this hidden loop, comes out the power plant as empties that have been emptied in the power plant. And then going back the other way, you shove loaded coal cars into the power plant, and magically loads come out of the coal mine. Oh man, that's great. But here's where it breaks down. So my locomotive is up here, building my train, going back and forth to load up my coal train. And once I get loaded up, I'm within sight of the power plant, and I could walk there probably faster than I could get the diesel started up. Really, I can only go a few feet before I have to go into the runaround and try and pick off one car at a time. So this layout really doesn't work. So remember that trucking has always been a part of transportation, even before we had the railroads. So depending on what era you're modeling, trucks, be it a horse and wagon, could go about 10 miles. In the 20s and 30s, they could go maybe 20, maybe stretch to 100 miles. And today, they can go cross country. So, but But Alan McClellan says we're modeling a transportation system. And so keep that in mind. So most commodities on your layout are either going to be shipped by your railroad or received by your railroad, but not both. And so there are exceptions. If you're modeling something like a lumber camp to sawmill operation, well, then that makes sense now. Okay. But really, these died out 100 years ago. So most of us are not modeling this. So let's see. There we go. Now we're flipping. So Panera says you can pick two. And I'm saying you really want to try to pick one. Okay, you got sawmill or you're serving lumber stores. You got grain elevators or a flour mill. You're not taking the goods and moving them from one place to another with your train, because trucks would be doing that. And pick one and be happy with it. But it's your railroad. Do what you want. So let's talk about designing for operations. So some of you are into operations, and if so, you certainly want to design it into your layout from the get-go. Some of you say, no, I don't operate, don't plan to operate, not doing that. And I say, design for it anyway. What? Well, if you're not doing operations, you're just running trains. You're basically doing a couple loops or maybe more loops, and they're really not going someplace to with really any purpose. Christmas trees are optional. They're handy to have. So why design for operations even if you think you don't want to? Well, one thing is you may change your mind. You spend 5 or 10 years building this beautiful layout, and your friends come over and say, oh, Don, we really need to be operating on this. Here, we'll help you set up the operations. You know, leave it to us, we'll do it. So design it in for the beginning. But here's the other thought. A good typical operating layout has a working yard, passing sidings, a lot of spurs, a lot of industries, easy to reach all tracks. So that's an operating layout. Aren't these good things to have on your layout, even if you don't operate? Of course they are. So staging, we had a discussion of Frank Ellison earlier, and talking about staging. And in the theater, you know, the actors take the main stage. And our analogy is that our actors are trains and they operate, but then there should be someplace off stage where the trains are kept when they're not here part of the actual action here. So again, Frank Ellison is a vaudeville performer. And so he knew, you know, we got a couple dozen acts back here. We got comedians and jugglers and singers and dog acts and all kinds of things going on. My God, you don't want them all out on the stage at one time. You want them, you know, hidden behind the curtains. And Frank also had the experience of being a railroad telegraph operator. So you can picture him in his lonely little depot at night. And what he didn't see was trains that went around in a circle every 30 seconds. What Frank saw was, here's a train going westbound. It's going from Buffalo to St. Louis. Zoom, you know. It goes by, it doesn't stop, it doesn't drop off cars, it's just going someplace. And here's another train going eastbound. So they're going from someplace to someplace else. So a friend I was helping, again, I was helping with designing his layout. He said, oh, Don, I don't need staging. I just like to run my trains. I don't need staging. That's for those guys that do operations. And I said, well, think about it. So after you run your super chief around in a circle 500 times, what do we do now? Well, one option is you put it back in the box and unbox another train and run it 500 times. Or B, you could get bored and go back to stamp collecting as a better hobby. Okay. So how many, let's see a show of hands, how many of you have more than 10 trains or 10 locomotives? All right, we should see all the hands. All the hands are up. How many have more than 20? More than 30? All right, except for a couple of you, your wives aren't in the room. You can go ahead and raise your hand, you know, be honest. You're going to need staging, even if you don't plan to operate. So we surveyed 100 model railroaders. One response was, I think I might have too much staging. It turns out he didn't, but he thought he might. That's okay. Number one answer is, gee, Don, I wish I'd built more staging. If I had $1 for everybody I heard say that, I tell you, I could buy a couple more sound locomotives. You need a lot of staging, but how much staging? This is the question when you're planning your layout. 3 tracks enough? Is 10 enough? 15? Geez, 15, Don. That seems like a lot. So Tony Custer, one of the pioneers and leaders of our hobby, he says, what you want to do is you want to think about how many staging tracks you think you might ever need. And let's call that N. And he says, then you need to double that number and then add one more just to be safe. And that's the number of tracks you should build. So I say, I think the answer is why, or why not? Build the number of staging tracks you can fit in your space, because you might need them. And I'll refer you now to a section of the Layout Design SIG's website, has a whole discussion of how to design staging tracks. So it's a good reference. So let's talk about how many trains I have in my staging. Well, I have my Zephyrs and my other intra-city trains. I got 10 of those. I got 6 commuters. I got a Doodlebug. Yep, I'm freezing up again here. I've got some run-through trains. Let me back up there. All right, I've got these run-through trains. So just like Frank Ellison said, I got trains that are going from somewhere to somewhere else, okay? I got 5 of those. I got my occasional trains. I've got 3 different maintenance away trains. I got track cleaning train. I got steam excursion. I've got my novelty trains. I got a beer train that has 40 cars. Sorry, it's flipping on me again. I got my beer train. That was fun to collect. Got, I see they're putting these videos in here. And I got some trains that really don't fit my era. I've got a stack train. I've got an Amtrak train. I got an Austin steam train. There we go. There's my Amtrak train. Yeah, we're having a real trouble with this buffering. All right, so I got to confess, yeah, I'm a train collector, but I can run, I can see most of my trains. I don't have to go and look in the closet to see them. So I have 58 staging tracks in my layout, and I see the crowd gasping. Oh, Don, have you lost your mind? Don, you must be that guy that thinks he has too much staging. And the answer is no. That's a guy in Houston. David Grind knows who I'm talking about. It's the great what is it? The Green Bay layout. So I got capacity for 1,600 boxcars to be stored on my staging tracks. Is that too much staging? Again, the answer is no. Why is it no? Well, I just showed you 33 trains that are already sitting in staging. Over half of my staging is already taken up. It's claimed. I need to keep at least 4 tracks open for arrivals, or else I get gridlock. I can't leave one staging yard and get to the next one and not have a space to put it. So that leaves me 21 today available for running ops or for building up more trains, which I'll probably do. So that's a lot of tracks, and you got to think about that when you're planning. You don't forget about your Christmas train and all those other trains. Visible staging or hidden staging. This is a big debate, and it's up to you what you prefer. Visible staging, it's easy to access, easy to view. It is a real space hog. It takes up a lot of space. David Barrow in Division 4 was a big proponent of this. He has drawers here where you can make this into a fiddle yard and switch cars in and out. And he likes that. My staging tracks are hidden. So they're more difficult to access, more difficult to view. Difficult to view is actually okay because when I want to hide some of those trains that really aren't relevant to my era, I've got a place to put them. And it's a great use of space, of real estate. Another big question is stub-ended or double-ended. So stub-ended tracks, meaning there's only turnout at one end, can be longer. But they're inconvenient because you pull a train in, and when you want to use it again, you got to back it up, God knows how far to get to a point to where you can turn it around and get it to go forward. It's okay for storage, so that's a great spot for my Christmas train and some other things. Double-ended, you've got turnouts at both ends, so that forces the tracks to be shorter in the same amount of space. But it's more convenient because a train pulls in, pauses there. As soon as you want it to come back out, it's ready to go. And this is really preferred if you're doing a lot of operations. Another thing to plan in your planning, you've got to think about aisle width. One problem we have, we start drawing lines and we draw more lines and we want more tracks. And what we do is we take the tracks out of where the aisles should be. And that's going to be a problem. 17 inches is fine if only you have to get in there infrequently and do some maintenance, but you really want more space. So I would say use 36 inches as a guideline, as really a working minimum when you're planning your layout, and try to hold to that as much as you can. Remember that even if you have an N scale layout, some of your friends are G scale. Okay, so we all know who we're talking about. Okay, so the layouts that have crammed everything in and have aisle width of 20 inches, they're really uncomfortable, and I don't like to operate there, and a lot of you don't either, because it's really inconvenient. Saying, excuse me, can you back out? I need to get in there. You want to have some space. Draw a schematic. You do your sketches and all your loops and all that, but bring it back to a schematic, and that helps you really define where things come together, which way they're going, and where they fit relative to each other. So when you're making your sketches, we do something called draw circles to find straights. Okay, so you have a certain minimum radius that you're comfortable with, depending on your scale, and draw some circles, put them in there, and then connect some lines to them. And they'll tell you, is there enough space along here to not have an S curve that's going to derail my trains? And you look at some other factors in your room, and then you can put those together and you can draw a layout. That's one particular one, but with the same circles, you could draw this layout, which may be a little bit more interesting, has a crossover there, and you may prefer that. So you want to do a structural sketch, and this one's in CAD. Yours doesn't have to be in CAD. But what you want in your structural sketch is to look at all the room things, the obstructions, the washing machine, the door, anything else that needs to be in there. You can't ignore that. You're going to have to design around those things that can't move. Okay, water heater, whatever it is. And you have your negotiated boundary. You can't go past this line or the kids won't have a playroom. And you say, well, I'm okay with that. Okay, so this is still a rough sketch. Note that a lot of these lines don't connect. There's no turnouts on them. You're just slapping down lines in there to get an idea of how it might look. And you want to try different variations. Okay, it could go this way. It could fit in different order. Think about that. Rinse and repeat. Now, you don't want to necessarily spend the time to do this all in CAD. These examples I have are from Byron Henderson. He's a professional layout designer. And so when he's doing work for a client, he has to present it on CAD to show that he knows what he's doing and to keep things real. So he'll present these 4 different options to his client, and they'll choose one, and then he'll go and do the detail work once he has that. So speaking of detail, we're finally into the detail phase, okay? And when you're into the details, you got to talk about John Armstrong. He also was a professional layout designer, and he did a tremendous amount of good work here. His famous layout, just like Frank Ellison had his famous layout, John's layout is the Canagua Southern. I didn't pronounce that right, but if you talk to David Grine, he knows how to pronounce it. So talk to him. John wrote a number of books, a lot of articles, but of all his books, this is the one that I think is really a must. And I'm saying you need this book if you don't already have it. So one thing we talk about is S-curves when we get into the details, and these are a problem. So I would say, I'm modeling the 1960s. I'm running mostly 40 to 50 foot cars. And so I need a layout that can support that. But really, I also have these piggybacks, and I have passenger cars, and I have flexivan cars, and they all behave differently in different parts of the layout. And so I'm embarrassed to say this photo was taken in one of my return loops in staging. And these cars are just fighting each other to death. It's like putting 4 10-year-olds in the backseat of your car and driving 300 miles. They're just wrestling with each other and just pushing each other all over the place. And I had to get in there and put these test passenger cars in there before I realized what was going on. I think I had allowed about 12 inches, which is more than enough space for a straight, right? But they're on the straight. This guy's in the straight, and these other guys are still in the curve, and they're pushing and shoving. So my new metric is for HO scale anyway, allow 18 inches of straight to keep this from happening. So I had to rip this out and redo it. So don't let that be you. So here's a piece of your layout. It looks fine, but if you really think about it, there's 3 curves here. So train coming up here is turning right, goes through turnout, he's turning left, and he straightens out and he's turning right. There's 3 S curves in this little tiny space. That's going to be a disaster. Okay. So go back to Einstein, do a thought experiment. And thought experiments are how you find these problems before you build them. All right, so there's solutions to it. You can move the turnout down farther. Maybe you can do that, maybe you can't. Maybe you don't have space to move it down in your layout. You could flip the turnout around. My personal favorite is make the turnout part of the curve. Okay, so your turnout here curves, and this could be either the main line or the spur on either side. It doesn't matter. So these are things that John Armstrong talks about in his book, and that's what makes it so valuable. He talks you through where these problem areas might be. So most of us are going to want to put a yard, or at least 1 yard or maybe more in our design. And there's a thing called the 10 Commandments of Yard Design. And a guy named Craig Geyer, he passed away recently. He came up with these 10 commandments. And we're not going to spend time going through all that. And it's a really good reference, and it makes you think, because most of us would just lay down 3 or 4 or 5 tracks and call it a yard. But he talks about, well, you need caboose tracks if you're modeling that area. You need arrival departure tracks. You need a runaround. You need all these different features. So look in the appendix of this, and you'll see the detailed discussion Craig put together. So easements, we need to talk about easements, and some of you are thinking, what's an easement? So I ask you to think about it this way. Next time you're out driving and you turn a corner, think about how you turn. You gradually turn the wheel, you hold it steady in the middle of the turn, and you gradually straighten it out. Can you imagine driving where you go to straight and then you crank the wheel all the way into the turn and you hold it there and then you uncrank it as fast as you can, and then you're gonna have to stop the car, get out and throw up. That'd be a horrible way to drive. And your trains don't want to drive that way either. So the reason we don't know about easements is because we all learned how to put together, sectional track. Sectional track, you just plug the curve right into the straight. No big deal, right? So you don't want to do that. You want to provide an offset between your curve and your straight. And this is what we call the easement. And it doesn't have to be a lot. Could be 1/8 of an inch or maybe only 1/4 inch. Depends on how tight your curve is, how far your curve extends, whether it's just a part of an arc or a whole 180 degrees. But you need to think about the easements there. And this is you can go online and find some more information about this. And what's amazing is even though we're modeling, we're driving around with little plastic box cars, they still have centrifugal force, and they want to drive themselves off the track. And so there's a good discussion of this. Ron Trains and Things. He does some great videos, and he has a whole video on that. And I encourage you to go and take a look at that if you're not familiar with the term easements. Well, those are one type of easement. We also have vertical easements. And one thing that we get trapped into when we're doing our drawings of our layout is, well, I'm going to go flat here, and then I'm going up a 2% grade into my helix. I need this green section here is an easement between the 2% grade and the flat. And how far that extends depends on whether you're really doing 2% grade or shorter grade and how far the grade goes. But again, you want to be thinking in terms of like maybe 18 inches for that easement. And when you get to the top of the hill, you want to have another easement, and another one as you go back down again. So that takes up space, and those are things that we forget about when we're drawing our plans. All right, so finally, Don, are we ready to draw some lines? Okay, can we start drawing? So I encourage you to not get into CAD, make many sketches, paper and pencil. Again, this is where your creativity can just flow through the pencil, and scratch it out, erase it, cross it out, get another sheet of paper, and keep working through it. Once you have a design that you think is doable, then you go to CAD. And you really do need to go to CAD to prove that your drawing is workable. Because with your pencil, you can make radii that are really impossible. And with your pencil, you can make turnouts that are only 2 inches long, and that's not going to work. So I'm going to black screen again here. See if I can get it back. Oh, phew, that's lucky. All right. So again, the old school method of doing things is graph paper and circle templates. What I'm saying, it's not just the old school. It's something you can still use because it's really quick, it's really inexpensive, and you can do a lot of drawings very quickly and sort through them. At some point, you need to do the CAD. There's a lot of CAD programs out there. I've listed only 7 of them here. There's a lot more than that. And everybody has their favorite drink of choice. Some are very complicated and have a lot of features and take a long time to learn. Some you can pick up in just 10 minutes and go flying down the track, so to speak. I found that Model Railroader magazine did a great review of these, talking about those trade-offs. Which ones are expensive, which ones are hard to learn, which ones are easy, which ones have more features. And that's a good reference for you. So once we have our CAD plan here, remember that just because it works in CAD doesn't mean it's right. So we had the saying at work, we were designing parts, and occasionally there'd be designs that didn't work, and a group of us would be standing around talking about, oh man, oh crap, what are we going to do now? And we'd be scratching our heads, and there'd be a pause, and finally some guy would say, but it worked on CAD, it must be right. And we'd all get a big belly laugh and go, yeah, it must be right. But with CAD is it's like anything else, garbage in, garbage out. So if you forgot some factor or forgot an assumption or made a wrong assumption, your CAD is perfect, but it's useless. So here's a case where I'm designing one of my branch lines. I got all designed, but I had this nagging feeling that it just wasn't right. So instead of going ahead and laying road bed and putting in switch machines and all that stuff, I decided just lay it all out. Just pin it down with some track nails real quick. It took me about 2 hours to lay it all out. And this actual whole section is over 20 feet long. So I laid it all out. And I didn't like it. Immediately, I didn't like it because my main industry on this whole branch line didn't have enough space to breathe. All right, so I designed it again, and not on CAD. I just kind of started messing around with it. I moved all the tracks close to the aisle. Now my industry could be bigger. I ended up doing 5 different iterations of this as I went along. Just rinse and repeat. Just keep trying things and finding better ways to do it. I had a perfectly good CAD plan, but it wasn't going to be something I was happy with. One of the things I did was I invited some friends in to do a practice op session. Tracks just pinned down temporarily, and they had some good feedback. They actually, they don't care how big my industry is. That didn't bother them. What they told me is don't put in switch machines. We like it to where we can just reach out and touch the switch. And they also said you need a lot more industries here to make it more fun. So I went back to my prototype. There were more industries that I had not planned to model, and I added them to the mix. To see if my industry fit, I built some cardboard mock-ups and got it to where I could say, yeah, that's big enough. I'm good with that. But it also helps me with the sight lines. Can I see the cars? Can I touch the cars and uncouple them? It's really good to do the mock-ups. So how do you transfer the drawing to your lab? I heard Gary Ray was in the audience there. And so this is Gary. He moved to Texas. He did not want to waste any time. He told me, I don't have 20 years to build another layout, Don. I'm cranking away at this full speed ahead. So he made full-size prints, rolled them out. He knows where all the turnouts go. He starts plunking away. Boom, he's going to town on it. That's a great way to do it. And for those of you in Division I, Gary's a great resource. If you got layout design questions, I'm sure Gary will be happy to help you with it. He knows a lot about it. So I don't do full size. I measure X and Y. This is the other main way to do it. Measure X and Y on your CAD plan, then measure X and Y on your layout. Here's a good example. I'm building my both of these images are my staging yards, different pieces of staging yards. So in this case, I laid out the turnouts on the plywood before I started cutting into that, $50 or $60 piece of plywood. I make sure it's what I wanted, because I'm doing a staging yard. I don't need extra space for scenery. I don't need extra space to put structures. I'm just building tracks, so it can be just minimal and use less plywood. The other tip is it's easy to work with this stuff in your garage rather than trying to do it, out in the layout room where it's supposed to be. I can get to both sides of it and work on it. It's great. Let's see. And let's see. And my final slide here, I'm going to talk about the order of track lane. In our design, we put the curves in first and drew straights to find connections. Once you have your design, you're going to want to locate your turnouts first. And the reason is you can't bend a turnout. You can't shorten a turnout. Well, you can a little bit at the ends, but you can't shorten them. You can't cheat them. Those are fixed objects. So you want to get those down, get those lined up exactly right. And then you can draw some straights out of that and curves connect. And you see this line here. These are two different modules I built up in my garage, and took them as far as I could. They're already wired up now because I could flip over those modules and put them together. Now all I have to do is connect a little bit of curves. So there's a lot of good reference. I encourage you to read and research. But of course, get John Armstrong's book. You can, it's out of print. You can still get it for $20 on eBay. And you can also get it for $100 on eBay. That's amazing what people want to charge out there. The other thing, the other reference you have is the Layout Design SIG website. Has a lot of information. We already talked about how to design staging yards is out there. You can get back issues of the magazine and check that out there. So if you have any questions, you can contact me, and I'll always be willing to help you. So with that, we can open it up for questions and answers.
Okay, any questions for Don? Yes, Mike.
I agree with you on the research, but I think there's a point where you've got to stop research. I'm modeling Colorado in 1933 in the specific locations, and I just researched to death. I wish I would have stopped at a certain point and then started more time on my layout. I mean, you can go too far in the research, in my case.
I agree with that absolutely. Tony Custer has a saying for that. He calls it the someday central layout. And it's for people that have analysis paralysis. And yeah, it's you can only take it so far, but in many cases we don't have the resources or the room or the space to do our layout. It's good to develop some. In my case, I knew I was moving to. Actually, I knew I was moving somewhere. I didn't know where I was moving. When I retired, my wife said we're moving to wherever the granddaughter is, because she's 4, and we have to go wherever that is. But first, we have to get my son-in-law a job, and I don't know where that is. So I did a lot of research and a lot of planning. It gave me time to do that. But you're absolutely right. If you're analyzing this for more than a year or two, you need to stop and start building. That's a great comment. Anything else?
How about any other questions? Okay, well, Don, sir.
You can stop sharing.
Don, thank you very much for a great presentation.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You brought out a lot of good concepts and principles that we should all follow. And for those of us who built their layout, at least it reminds us of some of the things we should have done and perhaps we can do to make changes. So thank you again.
You're welcome. That was great. Thank you.
So as we had mentioned earlier in the meeting, we have a model layout to view. It's called the Virginia Railroad, and it's at Mike Ross's house. I have a few maps here, but I can give you the address for those who want to write down the address. It's, if you're ready, 6816 La Honta Drive, and that's La Honta is spelled LAHONTAN Drive. The zip is 76132. Yes, 6816 La Honta, LAHONTAN Drive. And I've got some maps if someone needs a map. I can't put, well, here, I can show it here.
He also wanted me to remind everybody, if you park in the street and walk up the driveway, then go in between the garage rather than through the front.
Okay.
Definitely give that about going up the driveway and towards there.
There we go.
Layouts upstairs.
And of course, you enter through the garage. Okay, everybody got it? Okay, and if you don't have it, I got some sheets of paper here to hand out if you need it. Thank you very much for attending. He should be ready for everybody in about a half an hour, I would guess. And he left a little early to start getting it prepared. But thank you for attending the meeting, and we will see you next month. Thank you again.